Southwest Virginia and Northeast Tennessee is rich in music heritage, whether it be bluegrass, country, folk, blues, Americana, or rock and roll. This area has a diverse group of talented musicians. Let's get to know some of the area's top musicians and new rising stars.
I'm sitting here with Ryan Kendrick of HipGypsy and Moose Roberts and the Monkey Paws. Ryan is from Bristol, Tennessee.
Yep.
And Ryan is, how old are you, Ryan? 25.
Just turned 25 March 14th.
He's a quarter of a century years old.
Yep.
And we're sitting down here talking to him today. Get a little bit of history about it.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, a Facebook viewer wants to know, her name's Sharon Browning. I don't know if you know her or not.
Yeah, she's a good lady.
And she wants to know, at what age did you pick up the guitar and start playing?
Well, I've always kind of strummed with one a little bit, beat around on one. My grandfather, my papa is what I call him, he was big into like folk and bluegrass, all the cousins get together on Saturday evening and pick and, so, I've always been around music and kind of like learned a couple of chords on one at a young age, but I would say at what age I really got into it, I was probably about 13. And I remember my dad had this old Nissan car that he actually ended up trading for a Bronco, but it had a CD player in it. And I was back there, I think Dad was washing one of the cars or something, and they had this like shoebox, or no, it wasn't a shoebox, but it was a little box of CDs that my dad had, and of course, like there was like Metallica and Snoop Dogg and Leonard Skinner and all these bands. But I remember I had put in a live, I think it was like AC/DC or some rockin' band, and I was about 12, 13. I remember sitting out there, Dad's washing one of his cars off, and I'm sitting back there listening to the CD player, like running around with my dog, what have you, But I remember I put one of my dad's CDs in, and I heard that music, and I'd been, messing around with the guitar, but I was like, probably about 13, I was like, you know what, I think I want to be a guitar player. I think like that noise, that feeling I get off of it. So I'd say really when I really started after it, trying to, learn and do, not just beating around with Papa on the front porch and cousins, what have you. Like, I would say I was probably about 13.
So did your Papa give you your first lesson, or?
Yeah, my Papa Doug, my grandpa, he showed me my first three, he showed me a G chord, and I don't mean to speak Greek and get into a big thing, but he showed me 4 or 5 chords, like G, C, D, an E major, an A minor, just a couple of chords,
So did you take private lessons with somebody else later on?
Yes, I remember I was about 13. I'd been picking for a little while with my papa and stuff on the front porch. My cousin Tim and their buddy Chester would come over, and they had mandolins and fiddles and banjos, and we'd get in my papa's garage. And at the time, he was welding out of it. It was K&K Fabricating, and on the weekends, I'd go up there and pick music, and I don't know, there was something about it, like, that got me, and so I started going to church with Papa when he started playing the harmonica in the band, and I met a dude named Billy Crawford at church. And like I said, I was probably 13, And actually, at that same time frame, old Billy Crawford, I gotta give him credit, he gave me this little piece of brass, which is a slide, you know, but Billy Crawford, JJ's House of Music was up in Bristol. It was a little guitar store. And I went up there and I bought me an electric guitar because I was into it, because I love picking them acoustic guitars. And like I say, I was out back, wanted to hear some more rock and stuff, so I was like, I want to get an electric guitar, you know. So I was 13 and I had some money that I'd saved up from mowing, and like it was birthday money and all these things I'd saved up for. And so Billy Crawford at JJ's House of Music and KD, they got me turned on to a dude named Mac Partain. That was the first dude, other than my papaw, first dude I ever got electric guitar lessons off of was Mac Partain. And then JJ's closed down. Well, then Billy Crawford was giving lessons at over there on Exit 5 where the Black Wolf Harley. And I think it was, I don't misquote me, I think his name's Matt or something, but he had a guitar. And I'm sorry, I can't remember his dang name. If I wasn't trying to think of it, I would, you know, but...
happens to all of us.
Yeah. The older I get, I'm just turned 25, so it's downhill from here, you know.
So,
but,
you play any other instruments?
I've played a little bass. I tried my hand at drums one night, just, you know, frivolously, and I'm no good at the drums. I can tap my foot like a champion, but as far as... I'm not a drummer. I can play a little bit of guitar and bass. My grandfather, my papa, Doug, he's a harmonica player and he's really good. Actually, yesterday, I guess, we was at church and he come in there, was playing the harmonica with the church band. And it was really good, but I can play just a little bit, one or two melodies and one lead lick that I learned off papa from the harmonica. I can play a little bit of bass, and where the banjo is an open tuning, I can kind of pick on it a little bit, but I'm not great at it. I would say really the only one I can play and feel comfortable on, like really carry a tune in a bucket, would probably be the guitar, but I can play a little bass and a little bit of harmonica, you know.
Now your biggest supporters would be your mom and dad, your parents.
Yeah.
Your mom told me when you was little you want to be like AC/DC.
Yeah, he's cool, man.
He's a rocker.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you was born maybe in the wrong decade?
Oh, definitely.
Do you wear shirts, bell bottoms?
Oh, yeah. I was actually the only kid in 6th and 7th grade in middle school. I'd wear what have you band t-shirt, it'd be AC/DC, Leonard Skinner, whatever, and I'd have a flannel shirt on the cooler mornings, and I'd go into school, you know. And that's at the time when, rap had just really exploded, and you got all these punk bands like Green Day and stuff, you know, and people would give me crap. Like Leonard Skinner, Metallica, AC/DC, what have you. That's old school. That's old. That's my parents listened to that, and I was like, well, they must know something. They must be on to something there, But then when I started taking guitar lessons off Billy, I got into the blues. And one band that early on I figured out changed my life as far as the guitar and really being serious about music. The original Fleetwood Mac and AC/DC, actually, they do a version of the Oh Well riff. It's called Beating Around the Bush, and it's worth checking out. It's pretty rocking. But yeah, Angus Young. So I was probably a little bit older than when I first heard AC/DC. I was like, I want to get an electric guitar. You got AC/DC, Leonard Skinner, all them rocking bands. I was like, golly, I got to get me a guitar, an electric guitar, because I'd played old gospel and bluegrass and stuff, but I'd been taking guitar lessons off Billy down there at Exit 5 next to the Harley place, and he turned me on to the original Fleetwood Mac. And we're not talking Rumors and Stevie Nicks, like the dude that started Fleetwood Mac's name's Peter Green, and they started in 1967. Well, in 1968, they had a little blonde hippie dude that he was 17 years old when he joined the band. And I remember I was about 16 or 17 when I first heard about that. And his name's Danny Kerwin. He joined Fleetwood Mac at 17 and really took him in, instead of just a hardcore blues direction, they kind of went towards progressive rock. well, then do the drugs so you kids, you watch that crap. I know we live in a bold new world, but that stuff's bad for you. Danny Kerwin, 17, he joins Fleetwood Mac. By 20 years old, him and Peter Green, the dude that started Fleetwood Mac, are fried on bad drugs. And so that, and then of course, like, you get the Stevie Nicks, Lindsey Buckingham era of Fleetwood Mac after that. But the lead guitar thing, like Angus Young or Gary Rosington or Peter Green, Danny Kerwin, being so young at the time I'd first heard them, that was my first love. It just broke my heart and all that. And I'm 17, so you got this blues rock thing. And I remember just like really wanting to be a decent guitar player, and
In high school, did you have a garage band?
Oh golly, I had a bunch of them in high school. Yeah, the first one was actually Brian Bourne and KG McCoy would come over to the house, and this was a high school days when we was all three long-haired hippies, so we'd get a little frivolous, you know what I'm saying, there, and then we'd jam music, but that was the first one that I really...
Well, how did your peers accept you? You've been
It's hit or miss. It's hit or miss. Like, I don't know, it's kind of like being a comedian or something. I don't know, like they either love you or they hate you, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, it's kind of... But a lot of them I've really got along with and struck up good friendships with. Phil Soupy from Fritz and Company is a good example. I remember when he worked at JJ's House Music and then went to Strings, he always encouraged me to play, and he's a phenomenal musician himself. There's a bunch of them, as far as peers goes, that really helped me out and encouraged me and stuff like that.
Did your parents ever tell you maybe
gosh.
go in a different direction in your career?
Man. Yeah. No, they were always supportive, and
your parents always want
the best for you.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure my mama would rather me be a lawyer or a doctor, but now I remember. Thank you, man.
Need anything right now?
No, I think we're living the dream.
Okay.
But now I remember one time my dad was like, what happens if you don't become a rock and roll singer, son? What are you going to do? And I was like, well, I'm going to be a welder like my papa, And but yeah, they've always kind of had my best interest at heart, but they've never been. There's been one or two times where they're like, what are you going to do, boy? You're getting older, But no, I've.
You went to college?
For a little while,
yeah.
Yeah. I kind of split that scene because it wasn't rocking enough.
So did me. I went to college.
Look what he's doing. He's a good example of,
And your mom told me when you was younger, you would have like 4 shows a week.
Yeah, oh gosh.
During the week. And how did you ever have time for yourself?
Well, when you get to playing and being 138 pounds of pure scrawny hippiness, if it wasn't for playing, you'd never get a date or, anything like that. Like, not selling myself short. I do have, I've been working on it, no, playing, like, has always kind of led the way for me to have, like, a decent, like, social life, you know what I mean? Like, because, I cut up and, act a fool and stuff, but really, I kind of find myself kind of introverted like my dad, you know what I mean? Like, I try to not make a scene and not be impolite and stuff like that. But with the guitar, especially rock and roll, you get to be wild, man.
Well, a few years ago, 2014, I think, you were featured on Young Guns,
Yeah.
CWAC,
Quack.
with Jake Quillen,
Yep.
Phil Soupy, yourself, and another.
Chelsea Constable. And she can play just like Randy Rhoads, I swear to goodness. Watch her play Eruption by Van Halen. That
So
girl
tell
burns
us a
up.
little bit about CWAC.
Quack was cool, man. Yeah, that's when I might not even graduated high school yet. I was playing with Billy Crawford, and Bill Bryant had Quack. He's kind of like yourself. He liked photography and stuff, but he helped a lot of us get out there and pick, and so Quack was kind of like his promotion,
Okay.
like kind of like an LLC or what have you. It was like his little promotion company, and when we played the Young Guns thing, maybe even to date, that was one of the most exciting things I've ever done, you know, and the highlight of that to me was like we all got out there and did something. Like Billy Crawford come out there and picked it and burned it up, and I think Chelsea Constable was standing next to him. She stepped out there and burned it up, and then Jake Quillen come out there and burned it up. Phil Suby, he come out there and he was running around in circles like Angus Young, burning her down, you know, and then I got to do my thing. But the Quack, that actually that was one of the things that kind of helped me get out there and feel comfortable about, like, I'm not Eddie Van Halen or Randy Rhoads or Danny Kerwin or anything, but I can get out there and do my thing, and maybe somebody wants to hear it, you know. That era of like playing with all them, and you know,
That's really like an honor to you.
Oh yeah, it was. I was very humbled to get to play with all of them, and that was I'm from Bluntville, and that was at the Northeast State College right there between my house and Daniel Minnick's shop down there, and that Northeast State College auditorium. As far as being a young gun, that was the one thing that like made me, like, getting out there on that college stage with Jake Quillen and Phil Suby, Billy Crawford, Chelsea Constable. I felt like I held my own. I felt like, wow, maybe I can do this like they are, you know. And this was, 2014. It's 4 years later. I've got a band, and stuff. Like, it took me a while, but that was one of the catapulting, like, self-confidence builders,
Who's your top inspirations growing up in music?
Oh, golly, wow.
Give me two of them.
Two? All right, well, I would say probably Freddie King. Freddie King, I've got a CD of a lot of his instrumental stuff, just him playing the guitar. And it's back when instrumentals were cool, Freddie King and Danny Kerwin. Because of the runs and the way that they shake the strings. Like, they can do a run and it's like, wow, how's he doing that? But they can take one note, kind of like the B.B. King, like you always hear, like he can cut your head off with one note. I love that. Like, it's not about, ooh, look at me. It's about catch this vibe. And with the guitar or with any instrument, it's like when you sing a song, the words mean a lot. When you're a musician, you kind of want to emulate that same feeling through your instrument. Like, I can't sing that great, but here's the vibe, and the two that really, every time I hear them, I'm just like, oh wow, like I could fight the world today. It's Freddie King and Danny Kerwin.
Playing with Moose Roberts, has he ever give you any advice? Because he has a lot of experience recording, been playing since the early 90s, late 80s actually.
Yeah. Forever. When Moose started playing, the Dead Sea was just sick. But no, that's my buddy. I say that jokingly. No, we were sitting there getting ready to play at O'Mann's up there. And I asked Moose, I said, man, like, give me some wisdom, man. Like, tell me something here. And Moose told me, he was like, Ryan, I'm telling you, and I quote, like, and if he says that I'm lying, then I apologize, but I'm fairly for certain. Moose Roberts looked at me and he said, Ryan, the best advice I can ever tell you is be yourself. You can sound like Danny Kerwin or Randy Rhoads or who have you all evening. But if you do that, then what does Ryan Kendrick sound like? Nobody knows. And I like that with Moose as a person, with his music, but that was one thing that was his advice he gave me. He was like, you need to just do you, man. Forget what everybody else is doing. Forget what everybody else sounds like. Oh, so-and-so can play the guitar better than you? Phooey. Do what you can do. Be yourself. That's
great advice.
Yeah, and if you look at Moose and the Monkey Paws, what we do and what he does, especially songwriting-wise, he's his own dude, Then you either love him or you hate him, you take him or you leave him, and that's how music should be. It's not a competition. It's art, Oh, you like Picasso, you like Bob Ross, you like Freddie King, or you like Led Zeppelin. Oh, well, it's all preference, But
what advice would you give to musicians just now starting out? And they want to do this as a career. What would you tell them?
I'm just trying to grasp right there. Is
I would say never let nobody tell you what you can't do. Don't never let nobody tell you that you can't play this song or that you can't do that or do this. Like I've heard pretty much I'm 25, and I started playing at 13, so we'll say a decade. You ain't gonna be no rock and roll singer. You ain't gonna do this and that. I'm in 2 pretty rocking bands. And I mean, yeah, I don't have $1 million in the bank. I'm driving a 98 Mercury with a duct tape window on it, but I have a blast. Like, I'm rocking out, you know, when we play, you know, I mean, not like, oh, I'm the man, but I mean, just the music, you know, it's fun to play. I feel like I'm rocking out, you know. And my biggest advice to anybody just starting out is don't give up, man. Don't take no for an answer. If you've got that fire to do it, do it. Do not let nothing or nobody. And you get those moments, like especially being a guitar player, you got these runs, kind of like these stock kind of starting points that you'll start, like you'll hit a lick, you'll go a couple weeks and it's like, well golly, everything I play sounds the same. And you get frustrated. You're like, I don't even feel like playing the guitar. And then you'll come home one evening, you'll have the roughest day of work since you started. You'll come home and all you want to do is take a shower and smoke a cigarette. You'll see that guitar sitting there and you're like, you know what, dag burn it, I gotta pick it up. Never give up, never take no for an answer. Don't never ever let nobody tell you that you can't pick up an instrument and do whatever you want with it. Look at Jimi Hendrix.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. So you're living the dream. That's your favorite saying.
Okay.
Right? That's what your mom told me.
Yep.
Yep. So where do you see yourself from 10 years from now?
It's hard to say, honestly.
It's hard to say, isn't it?
That's very hard to say.
But hopefully still playing music. Right?
Oh yeah. If I ain't 6 feet under, there'll be a guitar in my presence somewhere. You know? Yeah. But I would hope for the best. You know, I'd like to say I'd be in a band. You know, I've always wanted to get out of town picking. You know, and be able to come back with a little money and a little, you know, reputation and make everybody
very
proud.
sure that will happen.
I'd love that. You know, but.
I think the future looks very bright for you.
I hope so, you know, but if nothing else, if you know, if I ended up being a welder or working at McDonald's, you know, like, I'm never going to stop playing, you know, but it's kind of, it's just a thing, you know, if you'd have asked me 5 years, or when I was 17 or 18, a senior in high school, you know, I'd have told you, well, I'm going to be famous Mr. Rock and Roller in 10 years, you know, but I would like to hope for the best, but I can honestly say, like, no matter what life or the future holds, like, I'll have a guitar in my hands if I'm here to pick one. You know?
So, in a couple weeks, April the 20th weekend, there's Virginia Ground Band Camp.
I'm looking forward to that, yeah.
You're going to be, it's your HipGypsy's first festival?
Yep, the 20th is HipGypsy, and then the 21st is
Moose and the Monkey Paws.
Yep.
So come out and see us, guys. They'll put on a great show.
We're going to do what we can, heck yeah.
And you want to do a song for us on your guitar?
You want to hear one?